Hello, hello, and welcome to the Color Whisperer Show. We have a lot of paper here. Let's see. That looks better. What's that over there? Oh, it's a bag. Okay, well, I don't care. There we go. I'm a bag lady. It's a joke amongst interior designers. Is every time we go to an event, somebody gives us a bag. So I've got so many bags, and some are actually kind of nice. And then what we do is I have a bag for all my clients. And so it's just easy to keep all their stuff in one spot. So every client has a bag. So there's a row of bags that fortunately you can't see right now. But yes, lots and lots of bags. So welcome to the Color Whisperer Show, where we talk about all things home and healing. And this week we're going to talk about the sun. What's the song? Here comes the sun. Okay, I can't sing, but that's okay. It's almost summertime. I think we've had the first day of summer. If not, we're really close. So yesterday was a summer solstice and really was an amazing day. So summer solstice is the longest day of the year, but it also has traditionally, it has some very interesting meanings as well. And my friend knows more about this than I do. But anyway, yesterday, Devi, you've seen Devi, we went up onto a mountain, got out of the city a little bit, and we went into the mountains, and we just really spent some time with nature. And it was so beautiful. And I just came back from being in nature for like a week, right? But I tell you, it's so important for us to take this time and do it. Today, I feel so much more relaxed. And, we did some, what's the word? We did some communing with nature. There we go. And we really just spent some time talking to nature and feeling its power. And because it was a summer solstice and it was also a full moon, so that was very auspicious. That only happens like every 20 or so years, maybe 25 years, but it doesn't happen very often. So she's like, Jeanette, we have to go. I'm like, okay, I'll go. So I took the afternoon off and it was so wonderful. We walked up to some waterfalls and they're so powerful. You ask a sailor about the water, and they call the water she, because she can be gentle and calm and wonderful, and she can rage and be stormy and powerful. And there's that woman power that goes, it's different than male power, that woman power that just goes so deep, when I had my trip, this last trip I went on, since my miscarriage, and it's been quite a while, and the truth is it was probably there a lot longer, there was this silent scream inside of me. And you've all seen the silent scream. And if you felt the silent scream, you know what I mean. And that silent scream is so loud, so deep. And it's like in The Princess Bride, when he goes and he's like, he's going to kill Wesley. And he throws the machine up to like all the way. And he wants to suck all the life force out of Wesley. And that leaves him mostly dead. And you hear this just heart-wrenching scream that comes out of him. And Fezzik and Inigo are they're not nearby, but they're walking, and he's like, that's him. How do you know it's him? I know the sound of heartache. It's true love gets married today, and that's the sound of heartache. And with a silent scream, this Wesley was tied up. It was a sudden thing. He had no choice but to scream it all out. The silent scream is just as intense. And it's overwhelming because you feel like if you start letting it out, there's no end. And I talked to nature, I talked to the water, and I left the silent scream up there, which is really nice. So we talked to the water, we talked to the mountains, we talked to the sun. It's a very good day to talk to the sun. And, we talked to plants. There's all kinds of evidence that when we talk to our plants, they thrive. We are part of nature. So if we can connect to these bigger elements of nature, it gives us more balance. You don't have to go and talk to them all. And but go and be in nature. Feel the power of Mother Earth. It's incredible. So, it's like Superman, right? Superman has to go up to the sun to recharge. That's how he cures himself, right? And there's an element in all of us that has that Superman need for sun. In the design world, one of the things we have to look at is lighting, because especially in places that don't get a lot of sun in the winter, there's a real disorder. It's called seasonal affective disorder, or SAD for short. What happens when people live in these northern states, northern countries, where there's not a lot of sunlight? Alaska, shoot, they have a whole month when they don't have any sunlight. Can you imagine? I don't think I can. Be weird to be like, it's dark and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I know I spent some time in England, and it was very strange because it was like my whole, brain mental clock was off, because it's like 11 o'clock at night and it's still light out. I'm supposed to go to bed, and it looked more like 8 o'clock here, and I didn't quite know what to do with that. You get used to it, you do, but there's an element of, it's just, this is weird, it's still light. And so my circadian rhythms that I was used to were out of balance. But anyway, so it's seasonal affective disorder. And so we need to make sure, as a designer, to make sure there's enough lighting in the space to make sure that somebody doesn't get that. And, here in California, even we get it. I live in LA. We have sun, 300 days out of the year. But you know what? We're so used to it. And it's so funny. We may have a week of rain, and you'll hear all over the news, oh, it's another dreary day. You don't want to go outside. And everybody's doing the same thing. You hear about the radio, you hear about the news, and you talk to your friends like, oh, it's icky out there. I just want to stay in bed. I don't want to go out. And it's a very, very real thing. And our bodies need that sun. 20 minutes a day, they say. You should be outside. Sun or no sun, it doesn't matter. Even if you're not really seeing the sun, if it's not a gorgeous day, we still need that outside, that communion with nature for our health, for our psyche. Superman goes up to the sun for energy. That's what charges him. And it's like when spring comes in, shoot, my cats do this. It's really funny. And they go outside, and it's like the sun. Oh, just let me feel the sun. There's this there's this space you go into, just like, oh, the sun, feel the sun on me. And you put your arms out and just like, oh, feel those rays. There's something really wonderful. And if you're a beach person, you know you're doing that. It's like, oh, I got to get out to the beach today. I got to feel the water. I got to feel the sand. I got to feel the sun on my skin, the water on my feet. Maybe you go surfing. Maybe you go swimming. You know, but if you're a water person, you're craving that like crazy. So go outside, get some sun. You know, if you live in a place where it's really hot, go out at like 4 or 5 o'clock. More northern, maybe it's 8 o'clock. But, you know, we get a nice wind here that pops up around 4 or 5 o'clock, and it's beautiful. It's a great time to be outside. You've got the breeze, you've got the sun still, and it just feels wonderful. So that's the healing. And then a lot of people will have, you can bring it into your home. There's so much design around that. So there are a lot of people that have a atrium within their home. I've seen condos with it. A lot of condos do it. And I guess it provides a private backyard. They don't really have a backyard, so it provides a private yard within this space, but also provides a lot of extra light. Oh, I saw this house one time. Fell in love with this house. Oh, how much I wanted this house. It didn't happen, but the house was built. So if you go back to Roman times, and you see this a lot in Spanish style homes as well, they are built around a courtyard. And it does a couple things. One is it brings in more sunlight, but it also creates a sense of cool. And this house, you walked in, and there was this big, beautiful living room. Then there was a hallway, and there was a patio in between, and there was a kitchen on the other side. And the walls between the living room and the hallway and the patio all folded back, and the kitchen too. So you had this space that could be a very, nice little private yard. You could, I can't remember if it had grass in it or not. It might have. You could put whatever you want. But so you could have a place for flowers and grass and your very, very private backyard. Or you could open it all up, and it extended the living space. But it really was meant to be an outdoor living room. However you want to use it, it really truly was an outdoor living room. But you had all those windows, so that brought a ton of light into the house. Now, I know people that when they go looking for a house, they are only caring about how many windows, or maybe they're buying a house. I have a friend who was having a house made for her. It was sort of a tract home. It's not a tract home, but it was, you had to custom build, but it was HOA. You had to follow certain rules, And, they had a model to work with. And she's like, nope, I need more windows. If you go to the south, you see a lot. Almost every house has a sunroom. And it's a way for them to be outside. It's screened-in porch or glassed-in porch. A lot of them have both. And the screened-in porch keeps out the bugs. But it's also a great way to get that sun in a protected space. You see green rooms a lot, or sunrooms in a lot of houses where there's a whole wall that's just window. And it's a great place to just have the sun come in and feel that light from the sun. It's so important. And many people, like, they crave the sun so much, they won't buy a house unless it has a certain amount of windows. So when you are looking at houses, it's good to know, are you somebody who needs all that light or not? Because if you do, you're not going to be happy in a house that's too dark. So now let's talk about temperature, because having all those open windows is also going to bring in a lot of heat and a lot of cold. So there's a lot of ways we can fight the heat in interior design. One is through paint color. Huh? Yeah. So if you're somebody who is always hot, you want to make sure you have cool colors, blues, greens, purples. Cool. There's some warm purples. Purple kind of goes, but purple in general is cool color. Blue is going to be your most effective cool color for making you feel cooler. So if you're somebody who's always hot, you need a lot of blue. And it's interesting. If you go back again in the South, you'll see a lot of blue ceilings on the porch. That blue ceiling is called haint blue. And legend has it that that blue keeps away the ghosts. So it's the ghosts can't haunt you, or they ain't haunting you. Ain't. Anyway, but it also does provide a sense of coolness for the people sitting on the porch. And, you know, I know some parts of the South, you get all that humidity and it can be really, really awful. So having a color there to assist you in feeling cooler can be really nice. I have a friend that just painted her porch ceiling haint blue, and she's in Virginia. And she says, I did what? And I said, yeah, it's okay. She says, no, it's this. The can says this. I'm like, well, I don't think there's any paint color that they actually call haint blue. Maybe there is. There's a lot of paint companies out there. I won't say it's not, but I haven't seen it. But that's what it is. It's like in England, there was a color called Adam green. And it was this very soft green. And it had some variations, of course. And haint blue isn't just one color. It's variations of that color. So it's not just one color like, you know, Swiss coffee. But using that can help make you feel cooler. So that's one way. Now, maybe you're just someone who gets really hot in the summer. Maybe you live in a place like Arizona. It's 120 degrees in the summer. Oh my gosh. What do you do? But you're not a blue person. That's okay. So you can also use cooler colors. You can use some, you want to stay away from yellows. Or use something, if you are a yellow person, maybe you use something that has a little bit of yellow in it. So a light colored beige could help. There's some other things you can do. There is actually a paint that you can put on your house that reflects the sun's rays. It reflects the heat rays back off of it. So if you are in a space, maybe like California, like Arizona, it's white. I don't know if they have other colors now. It's been a little while since I've looked at it, but back then it was white. And you could paint your ceiling, or not your ceiling, but your roof that white. So it's great if you've got a flat roof and it can't really be seen from the back, because not too many people want a white roof. But if you've got a flat area that doesn't really get seen, you paint all that white, and that's going to take some serious impact off the heat coming into your house. Sorry, got a scratch. Another thing you can do is put tint on your windows. Now, I'm not talking about, don't get the film from your local hardware store. You want to get it done professionally. It's not very expensive, but I'm telling you, that's going to take a lot of heat out of your house. The only bad thing is what it does is it doesn't let the heat in, but then at night, you've got the light on inside, lights not outside, so people will be able to see clearly inside what's going on. So just be aware of that. But that's going to take a lot of temperature off the heat of your house, as well as the cool in the winter. So that's another little trick. Another trick you can do is window treatments. Window treatments can have a huge impact on the temperature in a home. Absolutely huge. So especially if you've got a ton of windows, you definitely want to have something in there that's going to keep the heat out. Otherwise, your AC bill is going to go through the roof. It may be nice to have something there I'm sorry. To be able to shield that heat from coming in. So one way you can do that is through window treatments. There's shades, there's draperies, and there are special linings that can help with preventing the heat and the cold from coming into your home. And they make a huge difference. Our house did not have any central air heating or AC when we bought it. And we had to get window treatments. So I added those linings because I'm like, well, it was not that much more expensive to add the linings, but it did make a huge difference in how warm the house was and how cool the house was in the summer. There's also ways that you can use alternatives to AC. So one is a all over home fan. Now these actually work pretty good. It has a huge fan in the ceiling and it sucks all the hot air out like that. It's crazy how quickly it works. And I wish I'd known about it. I would have done that probably instead of the AC because it's a lot cheaper. But that's okay. AC is good too. So the home fan is pretty powerful. It doesn't create cold air, but it will suck all the hot air out. So that's nice. There's lots of, you can put a window AC in the window. They do have some portable AC machines that you can use. I have not found them to be particularly useful, but you think about it. I mean, air conditioning as we know it is less than 100 years old. And, people got cool before then. So it's good to look at it, but there's ways to work around your house to make sure that you can make the house more environmentally friendly with the elements. So another thing you can do is have most of your windows on the east side of your house. Well, the sun comes up on the east and that's going to warm it up right away. And so you want to have the rooms you're going to use in the morning, your kitchen, your breakfast room, maybe your bedroom on the east side of your house. So they get the warmth first. And then maybe you have less windows on the west side of your house. If you have your wall of windows, you put that on the east side. And then on the west side of your house, you have less because the house is already nice and warmed up. You don't need the windows on that side as much. Another thing you can do is make sure that you have some clear pathways of wind. Now, I've got a baby Craftsman, and I tell you, when all of the windows are open, it's amazing how fast this house can cool down. And one of the things that is very important is that, so I've got my front living room window goes straight back and hits one of my windows in my bedroom. So all that wind is going through the house. That's one thing the Craftsman houses did really nicely. Again, no AC, 1926. It wasn't really common. Maybe in some of the big houses, but not in an average person's house. And they took advantage of where was the wind coming from on the property? Which way did it flow? And they created wind flow with the windows. And like I said, about 4 o'clock, we get a nice little breeze coming up here. So they want to take advantage of that. And when you open up all the windows, the house cools down pretty darn quick, actually. So that's another thing, is look at the windows. Make sure there's some flow in between. And that will help cool down the house a lot faster. All right. I think that's all my tips on that for right now. So, what else can we talk about as far as keeping the house cool? I don't know. Well, that went fast, didn't it? All right. So we talked about the sun, and there's some really cool things out there for summer. Oh, this is fun. I just saw this today. Now, we're talking about outdoor rooms. It's so incredible to have an outdoor room, because an outdoor room, first of all, they're a lot cheaper to create because you're not building foundation, you're not doing as much electricity or AC or heating even. So it's a lot cheaper to build an outdoor room. Maybe you build a pergola, maybe you lay some cement, maybe you have a ceiling, but that outdoor room really can extend your living space. And it's so nice to have a space that you can go and be closer to nature in and feel that the wind, feel the sun, feel all those wonderful things. And, you need some furniture. Now, maybe what you're looking for is an extra seating area, place where you can relax. Maybe you have a TV out there. Maybe there's a fireplace. Maybe it's an extra dining space. You like to cook out. You like to cook outside. You like to eat outside. I saw this ad today, and I saw the coolest table. It's great for anybody wanting to create an outdoor space. So it had a table, and in the middle of the table was a grill. And you could take off the edges of the table. The table edges were maybe so, big enough to put a plate on, but they pulled off so you could have just the grill. And the grill had your grill wires, but it also had a griddle and a lid for the griddle. And then they also had and it turned. So you can get the fire on different parts, and maybe you just want to keep something warm. You can turn it and just have the fire on one area. And then you can take that off after you've cooked everything. And then there's a a campfire thing that went over it so that you don't get stuff in your food, because you just cooked all this food. You don't want ash in your food. So you can put that over it, and you put the rest of the table back together. And now you have a little campfire grill, and you can have that keeping you warm while you're eating. And I just thought, that's really clever. There's so many things out there to help you build an incredible outdoor room. And sometimes it can just be as simple as having some nice chairs, having some a nice comfy place to curl up with a book or just sit and enjoy the sun, look at your backyard. I have a friend who she bought the house with us, and it is the most magnificent backyard I think I've seen. So they have a swimming pool. It is technically a swimming pool, the cement, and there's this huge waterfall. And there's flowers and stuff all on the hill, lots of stuff. They put in a dry creek bed on the hill, and there's this water fountain, and it goes into the pool. And the pool is only maybe 18 inches deep. So it's not really a great swimming pool. It is a great pool for wading or for just floating, something like that. So that's great. And then they have a few chairs out there so they can sit and really enjoy the fountain. And the waterfall is wonderful because what it does is it drowns out the city noises. When they have the waterfall on, I tell you, you are just, you forget you're in the city. It's not really, really loud, but it drowns out any car noises and stuff like that. Now, it's not going to drown out a siren or anything like that, but it drowns out a lot of the gray noise. And then nearby it, there's a covered patio, and she's got a nice little seating area. They've got a kitchen there for cooking. And honestly, that's why they bought the house. They fell in love with that space, and they spent all their time out there, excepting if it's raining. But even if it's raining, sometimes, oh yeah, I'm out here, my patio. She's warm there. They've got a heater. That's her space. That's where she feels good. She likes it almost better than the house. So having that space, it was already covered patio. They just added some furniture, add a grill. It's not hard. I have another client who has a saltwater pool. Highly, highly recommend saltwater pool over regular chlorine. It's so much more comfortable to swim in. You float, first of all, because the salt actually helps support you. So you float easier in it. And you don't feel that chlorine-y feeling. It's so much better. I'd never been in a salt pool until I worked with her, and I was like, oh, yeah. Any clients that ask me now, from now on, what kind of pool should I get? You want a salt pool. Makes such a difference in how you feel when you get in. It's amazing. I have another client that has a natural pool. She lives more in the woods. And they bought this house that has this amazing natural pool. It was designed that way. So they did actually dig a hole for it. Not them, but previous owners. And there's several of these natural pools. There's 3 of them. And the water flows gently from one to the next. There's little waterfalls. And, yes, it's got plants. Yes, it's got bugs. Yes, it's got all those things. No, you can't heat the water. It's only heated by the sun. But it's so beautiful. And, they're very adventurous folk, and the cold water doesn't bother them. And they love it. They have a rope swing that goes in there. They even have a little boat you can get in and go around, because it's a decent size. It is, part of nature. So it's not like a little tiny pool. It's a decent sized pool. And it's so beautiful. And you go down by there, And, they've got their own private little lake. It's not a huge lake, but like I said, it's decent size. And you get into that space, and again, you just forget that the city is anywhere near you. You forget whatever's going on up in the house. It's so incredibly peaceful there. So it's really a good idea to take some time and create what is your nirvana? What is your outdoor space? Last summer, it was so hot in the house. I was like, oh, I can't. I just can't. And I spent the night outside. I've got a nice little some furniture out there, and I'm like, I'm just gonna sleep outside. It was nice and cool, and it was wonderful. I'm like, oh, I should do this more often. And there's something about just being out in the elements that makes such a difference in our bodies. There's been studies done, a lot of studies done actually, that as people moved to the city, they lost touch. There's more anxiety. I know back when I was in design school, one of the studies was talking about people in New York City. And I've been to New York City. It's different from where I'm at. And it's different from anywhere, really. It's so tight, people-wise. And it is very fast-moving. And you've got to love that energy. If you don't, it's not for everybody, but you've got to love that energy. And LA is a big city, but again, I don't really actually live in LA. I wouldn't want to live there, but the New York City is very tight and cramped, and I was really surprised by how small things were. I'm like, I know, but what do we see on TV? Like all the TV shows with people that live in New York, they're not living in these tiny little boxes. And we went to the theater, and I was like, wow, the theater's really small. No wonder things are sold out for months at a time when things break out, because it can only hold a couple hundred people in there. Here, the same theater, we have a theater, and it holds 1,000 people. Hold whatever, I don't know exactly the numbers, but it holds a lot more than what I saw in the theaters in New York City. So no wonder it takes months to see a show. Because it's just so much smaller, and the restaurants, everything was just so much smaller. And we think of it's the Big Apple, it's a big city, and it is. There's so many people there, but everything's small. I saw today there's a place, forget it was Japan or China. There's this building. 30,000 people live in this building. There's schools in the building. There's businesses in the building. There's grocery stores in the building. Everything. That's a city. That's a city in one building. It's incredibly high. And these people never have to leave the building. And I don't know, I think we should leave a building. I think COVID taught us we should leave a building. But it's very interesting. I mean, I just look at this building, and like everything looks so tiny and so cramped. And to each his own. Some people love that. There are people who will never leave New York City. I love the hubbub. I love the excitement. You have other people that live in the country. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. I like get out here. And you got some people that live in small cities, and like that's their speed. All good. So in the cities have gotten more cramped. we hear about housing shortages, and the cities are just getting more and more and more and more and more people. So even people who lived in what might have been small cities 20 years ago are not so small. I went to school where my university was a relatively small city. There was not a lot to do on the weekend there. Trust me. There's a few restaurants in town. They had a little tiny mall, but they had like hardly any stores in it. And as far as going to a real mall, it was like you had to go 30 miles away to go to a real mall. And now they still don't have a good mall, but the city has grown so much, and there's so many more stores, and there's so many more people, and it's not the little city that I went to school in. And so everything's growing quite a bit. So we're getting more cramped. We're getting more, even in the smaller cities. There's more. So it's more important for us to have that communion with nature. I have a pond. I was going to try to have us meet out there today, but I didn't want to play with the tech. Otherwise, I was going to do it in my head. But, put some flowers on your yard. Even if you just have a little patio, have some flowers there, have some part of nature. Go address yourself with the sun. Go look at flowers. Go look at water. Listen to the water. There's a feng shui thing that having a fountain in your house is so important. It's creating that flow. It's creating an energy flow in your home. And that just keeps the energy running through your house. It keeps it running through you. When you go out and you listen to a fountain, it creates that flow within you. And what does water do? It's cleansing, right? So literally, if you allow it to, it can cleanse your body. It can cleanse the anxiety from your head. It can cleanse all those thoughts that are driving you crazy, that stress. So go put your feet in the water. Go listen to water running. Feel the power of that water, because it's so amazing. But you just got to let it do what it does best. Feel the sun on you. Get in touch with the dirt. We're supposed to be part of this earth. And when we live in these concrete jungles, we're not touching the earth. New York City, the biggest concrete jungle. Well, I don't know if it's the biggest concrete jungle there is. I just told you about this. It was a place with 30,000 people in one building. But it's a huge concrete jungle. Lots of skyscrapers. And what do they have in the middle of it? A huge park. A huge park. You watch the movies and like, oh yeah, we ran across the park. You don't just run across this park. This park is long. Oh my gosh. I was really surprised how big the park was. And if you look at a map and how big the park is, you watch some of these movies where, okay, we just have to run across the park. I'm like, okay. When we actually went and we were walking through the park, I was thoroughly amazed how big this place is. It's not just a little park. It's huge. They knew that they needed a space that was big to counteract all these skyscrapers. The park, Central Park, is all these people's backyard. So they can go there, they can sit, they can commune, they can walk, they can run. But they need that nature. It's so important. So even with all these skyscrapers and how much buildings, but what's in the center? It's huge, huge park. find what gives you peace. And you might be surprised. I know I certainly have been. I inherited a pond in my yard. I never would have done it. Never in a million years would I have said, I'm going to put a pond in my backyard. It's not a fancy pond. It's not like my friends where it's a swimming pool and, maybe someday. But it's a pond. And I can't tell you how much joy I've gotten from this pond over the years. There were fish in it, and the fish would last for a long time. And I'm like, wow, I'd go feed the fish, and then I realized I don't really have to feed the fish. There's enough stuff going on in the pond that it's there. But I would, when I first started, there's fish here. Nobody had been in the house for like 2 months when we moved in. There's fish there, okay? So I would feed them. I'd go play with them, and then we had lily pads and flowers, and it's been such an adventure. And the raccoons come and they eat the fish. And okay, do I put more fish in, give them more raccoon food? How do I get the raccoons from not getting the fish? Playing with the fountain. When they left, they didn't leave us a fountain, and pond needs a fountain to kind of aerate the water. So that was another adventure. What kind of fountain do we want? What does this mean? Well, the raccoons keep getting the hose from that one. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. It wasn't funny, but it was funny. In hindsight, it's funny. So the raccoons would keep coming, and they would steal the hose that went from the pump that was in the water to the pump that was outside of the water, to the fountain part that was outside the water. And they would do this several times. So I'd get up in the morning and there'd be no fountain noise. Okay. And I'd go out there like, the hose is gone. Well, what could have happened to the hose? Okay. So 2 days later, there's the hose sitting in the middle of the backyard. Okay. Guess the raccoons didn't like it. So I put it back on. Tied it tighter and did all kinds of stuff. And okay. Hose is gone again. They're very crafty, those raccoons. Very, very, very crafty. Okay. And then the hose is back. Okay. Maybe the hose didn't come back. I had to go buy some more hose. No problem. I go buy some more hose. 3 months later, there's a hose in my backyard. That's the hose they took before. And then in the summertime, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear this big splash in the pond. And it's a raccoon. There's several raccoons in there. There's a whole family of raccoons in there. And they're taking a bath and cooling off, and you can't really begrudge that. And the raccoons, they're fearless. You put the light on and they just kind of stare at you like, what do you want? I ain't moving. I'm taking a bath. And, they weren't really hurting anybody, except I had to keep refilling the water. And one time they took the fountain, and they were playing with a fountain, and they moved it. And I woke up in the morning and the pond was empty. So I had to refill them. So anyway, the pond has been an adventure, but it's also been so beautiful. And I've learned a lot about fountains, and I've created a garden around it and lots of flowers. And it's been such an amazing, amazing adventure. So I never would have dreamed I would have enjoyed a fountain, but it was given to me. And I have. I listen to the fountain at night, and it's so beautiful. So give yourself some space to really discover what it is that's going to give you joy, and play with it, and go out and get some sun today. See if you can get some of that summer solstice energy that might still be out there, and just really enjoy nature. It's summertime. Go spend some time outside. Hey, Mark, are you there? I think we're ready for some some Kendu spice, because we want to be creative with our food too and fill our bodies with really good nutrients. So I think we can go do some kendo spice, get some outside nutrients, go get some water, go get some sun, go get some grass, some ground, and fill your body with good energy too. Everything makes such a big difference. All right. Well, we're having some technical difficulties, obviously. Don't you love that?
Minimize UV radiation.
Hey, Mark. I
Okay,
think we're. I think unless you have a question, I think we're ready for some Kendu spice.
we'll get to Kendu Spice. You did a great job as always. So we'll do Kendu Spice. I did see that Frank Media or something like that was making a comment. So we did have a comment. They were talking about the whole conversation around UV lights and UV light therapy. So they were bringing that up. So they were on. So
Did
we
they,
did have a guest
I,
making some comments and all in that space. So
I didn't see the comment. What did they say?
they said that light therapy is useful if you want to minimize UV radiation damage from the sun. And the gentleman's
Yes.
name was Frank Media, but it says light therapy is useful if you want to minimize UV radiation damage from the sun.
Yes, there is actually a light that is, it's a special light bulb that is made to help with SAD. And I didn't get into that. I probably should have. But one thing that you need to be careful with is not to use it too much, because it shouldn't be your main light. It should be an extra light that you can turn on, but it shouldn't be your main light that you have on all the time, because too much exposure to it can actually prevent you from sleeping, and it has some other bad side effects. So just, it's good. It's good to have it, but just use it with moderation on days when it is not sunny, and it's not meant to be your everyday lamp and for everyday uses. So consider it an accent light, not your main light. Mark? Mark? I don't know what happened. He disappeared. So yeah, the light therapy is really good. You just want to be careful with it. That's all. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna do Can Do Spice in a minute. And with lighting, it's good to have 3 layers of lighting. So that's something that's going to help with the whole SAD thing as well. So you want to have general lighting, and general lighting is going to help you with, like you're walking in a room, you're doing general overall activities. Task lighting is maybe a desk lamp, a reading lamp. In the kitchen, it might be your over the sink light. It might be your your light over the stove. So task lighting is just that. It's for a particular task. Uh, one of Sometimes people will put under the counter lighting on their kitchens, and that can be very productive. And sometimes that's all you need. So that can act as a general light too. Maybe you're coming in, you just need to pick a few things. Maybe you're just going to make a sandwich. You can turn on just those, and it gives you light, particularly on the countertops, which is where you're working, but maybe you don't need the heat from all the lights being on. So that's another way. And then accent lighting. Accent lighting is for pretty. So maybe you have a picture that you want to showcase. You can put a light over that. That's accent lighting. So if you're going to get one of these SAD light bulbs, consider it more like a task lighting or accent lighting. and you can have it on, actually, kind of like more like the under the counter kitchen. I'm sorry, under the cabinet kitchen lighting is, you want it to be somewhere where it's going to affect you. But you just don't want to use it all the time. I knew somebody who did use it. Oh, I'm so excited. I got this sad light and it's going to help me with X, Y, and Z. And then she had it on like all of her waking hours and she was sitting next to it. It's really not what it's meant to be. So look at the labels. There's different sizes. Do some research and just like anything, moderation. Nothing is good for you 100%. And like anything else, you got to use some moderation. Okay, Mark, we are ready. Let's get some can-do spice in our bellies. I'm hungry. I don't know if you can hear me. Mark, it's time to go. Well, I guess the show is going to go on longer. So what else can I tell you about light? Lighting is such an important space, and it's totally ignored in most people's houses. Many people will just have overhead lighting. Oh, there's one light in the center of the room, and that's okay. You can see to get in the room. You can see do a lot of things. But it's all about the layering of lights. As we get older, we definitely need more task lighting. I'm so glad there's a flashlight on my phone. What does this thing say? I don't know. Turn the flashlight on. I can get away without having readers as long as I have my phone and my flashlight. And then I can use the camera on my phone to make it bigger. So I'm holding off on readers for a while. I do have to wear glasses to drive. You know what? There's a phone ringing. I wonder if that's Mark. Let's go see. I apologize. Hello? What's going on? Yeah.
Just go out, because like I said, it's apparently the computer was acting up. So just go out. I'm going to do that with Sasha too. So just go out.
Oh, good, because I've just been rambling, so I don't know.
No, just exit out, and I'll bring in